So you want to write a kind of upbeat song without sounding like you're writing the next theme to a Disney kids show.
Boyfriend?
Boyfriend, right, yeah.
You're going to need to learn how to use the Mixolydian mode. We're going to talk about that today. Welcome to Music with Marky. Today we're taking a closer look at the mode used in such songs as Sweet Child of Mine by Guns N' Roses, Clocks by Coldplay, and Sweet Home Alabama by Leonard Skinner. And no, if you're going to write a song in the Mixolydian mode, you don't need to name 2/3 of your songs with the word sweet in it. But what you might need to do before we continue with this lesson is check out my 101 series on the modes. I teach the modes like through a pattern recognition kind of method that helps you remember them better and allows you to move all about the neck while you're playing solos. And so some of the things I'm going to talk about in this video refer back to that and assume that you already know it. So if you're not real familiar with that kind of stuff already, check that out and come back here and we'll take the deep dive together. Oh, and also, this is the mode for the theme song to Star Trek. Boldly go, man, boldly go. So why does this mode work so well if you want to write an upbeat song that doesn't sound like a kid's song or like a basic classical type of song? As with every mode, I like to take a look at it compared to its closest relative, whether it be major or minor. And in this case, its diatonic relative, the major scale, is the closest thing to it with only one note being different. So if we have a basic G major scale, you start with the root, you go a whole step, another, or half step, excuse me. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. The fourth is a half step to the sixth, whole step to the seventh, and then back to the root. When you're playing the Mixolydian mode, you're going to take this F sharp here in the key of G and lower it to a minor seventh. So now the pattern looks like this: root, whole step, half step, whole step, half step, and back to the root. And continuing on, you've got the root here again, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. Here comes the Mixolydian note, the flat 7, and then so on for the rest of the scale. Now, if I'm playing the G Mixolydian mode, it's the 5th mode of the major scale. Again, this goes back to our 101 lessons. So you know that you're in the key of C major when you're playing G Mixolydian, and which is also an A minor. So one little kind of cool turnaround I want to show you here is that when you're using the Mixolydian mode, it really fills out pentatonic scales nicely. So if I'm in G Mixolydian, the overlap to the minor there is the A minor, and you would use, say, an A pentatonic. You know, very typical pentatonic type of things. But now you can add the diatonic notes from the Mixolydian mode in here and get a lot of those cool half steps in there. So you can take this typical and add this in. It's a nice way to spice up or fill out a minor scale and get diatonic and go back and forth between your minors and your Mixolydian. So that's the scale pattern, and we know we're kind of focusing on the fact that it has one different note, but how do we turn this into music and a song that has a Mixolydian feel? I'm glad you asked. As I've said a bazillion times, it's about the chord progression and the music behind the scales, not the scales themselves. Just knowing the scale is just a way for you to get around the neck and know how to play and cover the neck so you have more places and you're not just stuck in whatever boxes you're used to playing in. So it's all about the chord progression. Let me show you by example. In the song example there, we're in the key of G major, which means we're using the D Mixolydian mode, and hence my progression starts on a D chord. And you see right away, I make use of the minor 7th from the root being the Mixolydian D. I'm really driving the point home that I'm in the Mixolydian mode right from the get-go. If I was doing a D major thing, I wouldn't even be able to do that well. It would just sound like a classical song. has much more of that kind of resolve to it. And if I built a chord progression that was very major, again, very classical in its resolve, it can get too happy sounding. Just having that minor 7 or the whole step before the root again takes away some of that very kind of kiddish sound and very old school classical sound to it. It allows you to get more of a rock and roll kind of sound, if you will. And so again, it's all about the progression. We're writing a progression starting on the 5th of the major scale, and we're building our chords. Instead of a 1-4-5 or a 2-5-1 or whatever, it's a 5 something something. And if you really want to drive the Mixolydian point home, you're going to go 5-4 somewhere in it. You're going to have that note that's a whole step before the root note and really get that Mixolydian kind of sound. And that's why you had so many songs with that like D, C, G type of progression, especially in the 70s, 80s, where they were trying to do either ballads or the types of songs where it wasn't just strictly that kind of darkish minor thing and wanted to have something that had a little bit more of an upbeat feel to it, but wasn't too major sounding. And so that's really it in a nutshell. You start progressions on the 5 of your major scale. And if you don't know which major and minor chords to play, and that's kind of lost on you, I do have a lesson on that as well. I'll link that up here. There's a quick trick to knowing which major and minor chords to play. But if you're looking to build a Mixolydian song, I hope my example there helps you and you understand that it's just about the progression and that one note that's different, really kind of honing in on that. If you have any questions or comments, anything you need explained further, please leave them in the comments below. I try to get back to everybody as soon as I can. And until next time, guys, keep making great music. Hey friends, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. It makes the whole world better.